All right, welcome to All Things Used Cars Live. I'm your host, Kyle Mountsier. I'm here in the studio, and we've got an incredible host of panelists out there at the showroom floor, or the show floor at NADA. They are in the vAuto booth. We're hanging out with David Long, Dale Pollak, Jason Rice, and of course, Paul J. Daly is there on location. We're excited to bring you into this conversation. If you're listening online, watching the thread, or listening on Clubhouse, we're going to go ahead and toss it over right out to the floor. And Paul is standing by. Here's to you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Okay, we are live. We're just getting situated. As you can see, I got titans of the industry over here. David Long, Dale Pollak, Jason Rice. We're getting everybody sitting down and situated so that we can have just a really good conversation around used cars. This is the live stream NADA version of the Clubhouse Room, All Things Used Cars, which you can check out every Friday. It's Friday, so we had to do the show. So what we're going to do today is just have a pretty candid conversation about used cars. There is no agenda. I don't even know where the conversation is going to go. But excuse if it's a little choppy in the transition, but we're going to make it work because we always make it work. So we're going to come over here. The camera. This is David Long. You probably know David Long already.
Good morning, everyone. I am so pumped to be here with some of my best friends in the auto industry.
Yeah, me too. This is going to be just to calibrate a little bit. This is going to be our camera. You don't have to look in the camera, but if you're talking to the camera, but we're going to. You're not going to be able to hear yourself, but you can hear each other, right? You're not going to be perfect video coming out here. So, gentlemen, we're going to have a great conversation today around used cars. I have not seen my really great friend Dale Pollak in a long, long time.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Good to see you, my friend.
You.
Last time we communicated, I was in an Uber in Austin, and I said,
right.
My Uber driver knows who you are. And you told me, well, I live in Austin. Are you around? And I didn't even know you were in Austin. So you're looking very Austin-ish. If you're on the Clubhouse Room, Dale is just like a little bit more of a tasteful Miami Vice with the full cream setup. Who are you wearing, Dale?
What's that?
Who are you wearing?
Who am I wearing?
No, that's what you're supposed to ask on a red carpet. He's like, I don't know.
well, fruit of the loom. What are you wearing?
Looks amazing.
John,
Tommy John, okay.
Boxers.
So here's what we're going to do. The format, I'm pretty sure. That's the only thing I'm sure of. So here's what we're going to do. David's going to talk about used cars today. We're going to talk about the new book that you wrote. And we're going to pass the mic. We're going to give you a mic. And feel free to chime in whenever. This is kind of like just a candid conversation. Just a couple of guys talking here. Yeah, so Dale, I'm going to hand you my mic. And then David's going to take it from here.
All right, hold on 1 second. Okay.
All right. So sitting here with Dale Pollak, one of the most, if not the most prolific, smart
All right,
guys.
cut it out.
Cut it out. I would be nothing without Dale Pollak. But let me, after saying that, I'm excited.
You've been drinking.
No, I haven't been drinking. It's been 30 years.
Right.
Yeah,
Way to
that's
go.
you. So
That's me. I'm the
you're the drinker. I'm the driver. So,
No, I'm the driver.
yeah, you tried that before. We're not doing that anymore.
I drink enough. I can drive. I have
And he's
landed
sailed
the
the
plane.
boat, and he's done
Still
it all.
here.
So this is an extension of All Things Used Cars. So this is our 45th episode of All Things Used Cars. You've been on
Congratulations.
that show, Dale,
I have.
and I'm so grateful. But what I wanted to talk about is not All Things Used Cars. I wanted to talk about Whole Truth. Can you tell us a little bit about your new book?
Well, Whole Truth is my 6th book, and it's my first book on the wholesale market. All my previous books have been on the retail side of the business, and my dad used to own an auction. It was the Dyer Auto Auction in Dyer, Indiana, and my early days were around the auction, and then, of course, as a dealer, I was at the auction, but I was really all about the retail side of the business. But when in 2020, for a moment, the wholesale market completely shut down, and it caught my attention. And then when it started up with some really interesting, weird dynamics. So I got intrigued with the wholesale market, and that actually stimulated my thought process to write the book. And in the process of writing the book and covering a lot of half-truths, it occurred to me that the way that our industry approaches the wholesale business is really flawed in a lot of respects. And what I really envisioned was a different way of conducting wholesale business. And at some point in the process, it occurred to me that it would be one thing about me to write about a different way, but if dealers weren't able to implement it, it just would be an academic exercise. So I got some really smart people at Cox Automotive ginned up, and we created a solution, and that solution is Upside. And, not overnight, but I think
You know, the thing that I'm most excited about, when you joined All Things Used Cars, you talked about zero downside, all upside. Can you speak to that for just 1 minute?
Yeah, the data science today is actually far beyond the practice of the industry. In other words, what we know from the data and what we can do with the data is not being infused into the business. So thanks to some really brilliant data scientists and a wealth of data that we have at Cox Automotive, we're able to really pinpoint the value of a vehicle in the wholesale market. And, previously the value of a wholesale market, presently, the value of a vehicle in the wholesale market is completely subjective. It's your opinion versus mine versus Tommy's. And what we're able to do today is actually know within a very tight tolerance range what that vehicle will transact for at the auction. But that's where it starts. Because in the process of discovering the wholesale market, we're able to identify a small elite group of wholesale sellers that consistently get more money for their vehicles in the wholesale market than anyone else. And what we did is we distilled and determined what those best practices are. So what Upside is going to do is it's going to take vehicles from dealers at a price that we know is the transaction price the vehicle will transact for in the wholesale market. And then what we're going to do is we're going to guarantee them upside above that, exercising the best practices.
So what you're saying then is a dealer can't make a mistake.
Well, we're so confident about being able to pinpoint the wholesale price of the vehicle that if it sells for occasionally that might happen, strange stuff. We're going to eat the loss.
So the dealer's held harmless every time.
Yeah, that's how confident we are.
That is so interesting.
So,
I am so excited about that.
How can that not change the industry?
It has to change.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a story. I think you told me to do this 10 years ago. I got 40 dealers, 40 appraisers in one room, all 40 appraised the same car using the same tool, and there was a $4,000 delta between high and low.
Right. And that's an inefficiency that drains, that either going to miss deals, you're going to put too much money in trades and suffer down the line and grow. So the whole wholesale side of the business linked up with the retail side, which Tommy has done so much to educate me on. I mean, we can do this better. But here's the problem, as we all know, there's a lot of culture. There's a lot of ego associated, with pricing cars, with putting values on cars. So it's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen.
Did I ever tell you what ego stands for?
No.
Easing gross out. The bigger your ego, the faster the gross is out.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah,
so when you have somebody to your left, Tommy Gibbs, that I think the world of, and then I have
my hero.
Right? He's like the father of used cars. And then I have somebody to my right that I don't know what I would do without his intellect and his partnership and all the help he's given me, Jason Rice, with Lot Pop. I mean, what a duo these two guys are, huh?
So these two guys have had so much to do with my success and the success of V-Auto. I mean, Jason and I stood in a 10x10 booth here. How many years ago? How many years ago, Jason?
We had our little black and white placard and two tables and a laptop. That was it.
But you know what our big asset was? We didn't even know it. We were right next to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's what I say.
And that was in Orlando.
Right. So we saw everybody twice.
Oh yeah.
Coming and going, so to speak.
And it was we had a
so that's how I met you.
Empire Auto, wasn't even Auto.
So Empire Auto,
Empire
Auto. How long ago was that? How many years?
That was 2000. I joined in 2005, 2006, but Dale already had it for about a year and a half by then. And then so he probably started 03, 04. I started December 05 with Simchez, and that was 06 when we hit the NADA. And then Empower switched to V-Auto once we started because you didn't want to mix it up with the BMW Empower. Switched to V-Auto and retail data probably, 07? A year after?
Yep.
And started looking, and we realized that, hey, not so much what you own it for, it's what you can retail it for. And then we start dipping into retail data because Empower scored the wholesale. So you're circling right back to where you started, really, Dale, if you look at it.
But let me tell you, David, these two guys really, I mean, I was in the retail business, but these two guys taught me a lot about the retail business that I didn't know. I mean, Jason, really, you pioneered our whole performance management process. You were the first, all around guy, including performance management. And Tommy, Tommy showed me things about the business that I just, made sense, but I never really knew. So these two guys have had so much to do with our success.
If you're watching this or you're listening to the pre-recording, go to Tommy Gibbs. I'm telling you, he has a newsletter and an email that comes out every week. I forward it to my guys every week. I don't know if they've signed up, but I forward it with my commentary to go with it, and it is a game changer for us. So Tommy, you're freaking brilliant.
Oh, you're very kind.
What do you got?
Can I just tell you the best thing about Tommy?
He's handsome.
He's one of the best human beings I've ever met.
He is a very kind.
Absolutely.
He's a great dancer.
And you know what? A really shitty baseball player.
I don't know. I saw him at the fantasy camp. He was looking pretty good. Well, it's been a while since you've been in the batter's box.
That was great. I enjoyed those folks so much.
Oh, they were so great, Tommy. Tommy, you got anything to say? A couple words for us?
I attended the Yankees camp, and I'm 70. I'll soon be 76, and so that's a really old age to be trying to play baseball for a whole week. But it was a lot of fun.
66.
I wish 76. Yeah.
He's got more energy than a 36-year-old.
Genes, good genes, and good clean living.
Yeah, I just need to turn it on and off really quickly.
So we have Tommy Gibbs and Associates. Definitely recommend that. Of course, Dale's new book, Whole Truth. If you've been operating your business under half truths, which I think most of us have actually, and some of us even operate it with a quarter of the truth, I would recommend getting this book. If you're here at NADA, stop by, get a demonstration and a little explanation of what upside is all about. I love the name alone tells you that there's no downside. It's all upside. And then to my right is my good friend, Jason Rice. He's the owner of Lot Pop. Jason, tell them just a little bit about your company and what you do.
Well, again, we're focused on the dealerships, focus on our lot first, and then pivoting, figure out what holes are happening on our lot, then pivot to, market data to figure out what transitions they need to make. So integrating lead management with that inventory because, dealers go every day to sell cars. I think they do that physically, but how do they do that digitally? They find holes on their lot, they move cars around, but to do that digitally, we're trying to put that together. It's all process management stuff just to make sure dealers stay on top of all that. So, and we're at booth 4331. So
4331. So here's what I'd recommend. If you're not on Clubhouse, get on Clubhouse, come to All Things Used Cars. And that's not a plug. None of us make any money. The reason that I created it 45 episodes ago is because I know our industry's changing. I know we can all learn more, but even more importantly, what's the practical application? Let's not pontificate. Let's not talk about what could be and what might happen, but what can we do every single day as operators to surround ourselves with people and the information that we need to be the best we can absolutely be. And that's why I have Dale and Tommy and Jason with me right now. So Dale, do you want to take it home for us and say one more thing about what you're doing?
I just want to ask everybody to say a prayer for the people of Ukraine.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So, Dale, we can definitely do that. I appreciate you saying that. I love your heart. I love your passion. You've been so kind to me. And I said it in jest when we started the show, but I really, honestly, I don't know where I'd be without you putting me under your wing. Yeah, I really, I think that's more than three of us, right? So I'm grateful for you. I love you, and I really appreciate you. So if you're here at NADA, stop by the V-Auto booth. Get a copy of Whole Truth. I recommend it. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
I was just going to say again, Dale, myself, thank you for everything. My career wouldn't be where it is without that opportunity. You gave a car guy that never been in the vendor world, been in a plane twice. You took a risk, and like I said, my career wouldn't be where it is without your help and support.
Yeah, I know this isn't a shine on for the next 30 minutes, but it's hard not to with all he's done for the industry. So if you haven't read his first 5 books, I've read them more. They're stacked up on my nightstand. I refer to them all the time. I'm really looking forward to reading Whole Truth, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to spending some time with you here.
Thanks, David.
So, Dale, thank you. Please, you don't have to leave. We're going to keep this show going for another 15, 20 minutes. You got to go. So, Dale, thanks for everything again. So, what we talked about this morning in all things used cars, thanks again, Dale. We love you. What we talked about this morning in all things used cars is how do you turn these insights that we've been talking about for 45 episodes into action, into things that you can do day in and day out to become a great retailer. And I can't think of two better people to have flanking me than Jason and Tommy. So I'm going to give the mic to Tommy and ask you a direct question. You ready for this? All right. And by the way, I can't believe you're that. No, it's a take. I saw you taking most of your first pitches, but anyway, what do you think operators, dealers, used car dealers specifically, need to be mindful of in these next 3, 6, 9 months?
I think really over this course of time, dealers have gotten really laxed, and I think they have to get back to some of their basics. They've got to go back to some of their core beliefs and certainly be mindful of the changing market and not let inventory set, which is a common theme on my part and certainly Jason's part. But I think that dealers have gotten a little bit lazy, and it's been too easy. And sometimes when things are too easy, we get really, really lax. I'm writing an article next week addressing it from a basketball standpoint. The game of basketball has changed a lot. But there's some fundamentals of basketball that never change. As an example, if you watch a game today and you watched the game 40 years ago, you will see a pick and roll. Yeah. Watch any of the NCAA tournament this week, you don't see pick and roll. You'll also see baseline defense that has never changed. Right. We want to force that person back to the middle of the floor where we have some help. Right. Those are common things in basketball, even though the game has changed. They're faster, bigger, and so on. But there's the basics. Well, there's basics in the car business that never change.
Right.
Be very mindful of your more expensive cars. Don't let inventory set. Don't let them age on you. Whatever you determine age is. I'm always fascinated. I'll ask dealers in a workshop. I'll say to them, how many of you have an aging policy? And they will all say they do. And I'll say, what is it? Is it 45 or 60 or 75 or 90? And they'll all say, yeah, I have that. And then I'll say, how many of you have a car over that number of days? And they all raise their hand. You're either pregnant or you're not. You've got to decide what you're going to be about in this life. So I would say that moving forward, don't lose your disciplines. Pay attention to disciplines, and whatever happens in the market isn't going to impact you very much. I'm done.
So I'm just going to kind of rephrase what I just heard you say. So being brilliant at the basics, making sure that we never lose focus on the fundamentals. And what that made me think of is don't waste a great crisis, right? We're going through some incredibly different times, right? So I would consider, and Paul says it all the time in Automotive State of the Union, dealers band together, no crisis can win. And I absolutely love that. But that's why we started All Things Used Cars, so used car dealers could band together and we could all win at a higher level. So I love staying focused on the basics. I would also be borderline data scientists. And if you're not a data scientist, get somebody that can feed actionable information so that the information you're making is not based on your, what I call your belly-ometer, right? We cannot go any longer based on what our feelings, our thoughts, our intuitions are. It has to be based on the data, in my opinion.
I think to be really good in this business, you need a good blend of common sense and technology. The data, as you mentioned. So you can't just run the business based on data, and you can't run it just on common sense. You got to have a good blend of both.
So common sense and data, I would tell you that should be 80-20. I would say data, common sense 20, because I think sometimes, and you see it all the time, right? Common sense isn't common anymore. So if we're using the 50-50, I guarantee you 30% of the time we're going to be wrong, right? So I was really saying that about being a data scientist, because in my mind, if you're not able to be a data scientist, or you're like me and you don't want to know how to build the watch, you just want to freaking know what time it is because you're too busy dodging bullets, ducking and weaving, I would recommend going to LotPop because they're your data scientist. Can you talk to that for a minute?
Well, I think going back to the basics, one of the things that we push is you always want to focus on when's the best time to make that most on a car. And everybody says why it's fresh. So if I get a dealer to admit that, then I say, okay, do you want to increase or decrease the odds of it selling while it's fresh? Well, you want to increase it. Okay, well, why you price so high, you're not selling enough fresh? Make adjustments. But it's not a pricing thing also. And what I like about what we call first 30, we do these little wristbands. If you focus on the first 30, and what we mean by that is get a high percentage of your sales in the first 30 days. Not what you're carrying, it's what you're selling the first 30 days. And our best performing stores easily, consistently will do at least 60, if not 70, 80% of their sales in the first 30 days. What I like about focusing on that basic is it's a trickle down effect. If you're not accomplishing that, why? Well, did your average investment go up? Are you bringing in slower movers? Do you have too many trucks, not enough cars? Do your photos get behind? Transportation, service, parts. What's slowing that down? So by focusing on first 30 and trying to hit that goal, it forces you to start watching those other metrics and get everybody involved. And that's why we did the wristbands, is try to, hey, dealers, if you want to focus on that, get everybody in your team remembering, this is why I'm yelling at you about not getting this car out of the service. This is why I'm yelling at you about the photos not being done. This is why I yell at you about getting this aged car out of here, because I don't have enough fresh to sell fresh. So, it's a good basic.
The thing that I love the most about that is you can turn the insights into action, but I see come on over. I see way too many people that have the insight but never take the action. I am so excited because it's about to get fun. Not that it hasn't been fun up to this point, but probably the brightest person I know in the car industry. Sit right next to me, Jonathan. Thank you.
Microphone.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. That doesn't happen very often. You got the cool stickers on it.
This I can do a mic drop.
Oh, yeah. So we are at the halfway point of the 45th episode of All Things Used Cars. From Dale Pollak, you heard from Tommy Gibbs, you heard from Jason Rice, and we talked a lot about Dale's new book. But now we have the father of information. That's a pretty cool name for you.
I don't know. That sounds a little too old.
How about the brother?
Dale seems like the father. So
yeah, you're right. So we'll figure out a good name for you. But I'm so glad you're here, and I'm really grateful, Jonathan Smoke, that you are willing to join us, not only today, but the second Friday of every quarter. I'm really excited.
You notice how he's selling this.
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited to have you because I don't think we can really effectively run our business without the information that you can provide.
Well,
what are you seeing right now?
Generally, I'm seeing the best days we've had all year. Last week, according to sales models, was the best week we've had since May of last year. And in used cars.
Last week was the best week you've seen. How long?
That's right. Since May of last year. And
wow.
May was pretty damn good last year. It's basically a scenario of we've had a slow start to the year, but much of the slow performance over the last month has been because tax refunds are way behind. But it's just a processing timing issue. We essentially have delayed our normal spring tax refund driven season by about 3 weeks. And so instead of seeing it back in February like the industry is used to, we're seeing March.
Are you seeing that based on day supply or actual volume of cars leaving?
Oh, volume of sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've had a couple of days this week that, I look at traffic on Auto Trader. I look at traffic on Kelly Blue Book and dealer.com websites for dealers. I look at credit applications going through DealerTrack, all of them really positive momentum in March. And we've had a couple of days this week that actually surpassed last year, which is a really high bar. I don't have expectations of surpassing last year because we had more supply, and it's a little harder to beat last year's numbers with the supply that we have. But also, we had way more than tax refund season. I've been describing to folks that, well, last year we had stimulus programs that were basically like a 5-course meal. So tax refund season was like dessert. It didn't really mean what it normally means. And this year, it is the only action. And I believe, despite we're seeing very depressing numbers with consumer sentiment, consumers are rattled by what's been happening with gas prices and the situation in Ukraine. It really doesn't stop the fact that a fundamental law of nature that I've observed is that when we pump billions into the U.S. economy, a portion of those billions get spent on vehicles. And that's precisely what's going to happen in March and April.
So let me make sure I understand. So what you're saying is tax refunds are delayed. Are we at about 30 or 40% refunds right now?
I think we are probably approaching 40. The IRS data is lagged. So our last data point was mid-February. They will release some numbers through February 25th later today. And we were approximately half of what we normally were at about 23%. And I agree, 40% is what matters. Oh, it's not working. All right. 40% is what matters.
Let me repeat that. In case we lost, we got to, okay. Unless we lost that message, what we were talking about is tax refunds are at about 40%. We'll find out later today where we are from a refund percentage standpoint, but we're about half of where we were at this point last year. Is that what you said?
In terms of the number of people receiving their tax refunds, we're about half. But in terms of the dollars being distributed, up 15%, all-time high.
Yeah, so dollars are up 15%, and there's only half of the consumers have received their refund. So what I hear you saying, there's Liza Borges and there's Glenn Lundy. What I hear you, that's so cool. So what I hear you saying is these next 3, 6, 8 weeks, we'll see a lift based on refunds. No question. And I think what you said when you were last on All Things Used Cars is there's more $10,000 refunds than ever in the history of the United States. Did you say that? So the amount of money, and I love your analogy about dinner versus dessert. Yeah, there's not been any stimulus money pumped into the economy this year. So this is the only form of sustenance that we're getting. So as the tax dollars get pumped in, this is my buddy Glenn Lundy. Come here. As the tax dollars pump back in, you can spend it on things like going to one of Glenn Lundy's 800% clubs.
That's something you should probably do.
I would recommend that. Good to see you, Glenn. Jason had a question for you, but is there anything else I missed about that, what you just said?
No, I think it's going to be an incredibly strong March and April. I have no doubt. And so these are the months to make your year this year.
If you're on my team and you're listening to this, did you hear that? These are the months to make not your quarter. These are the months to make your year. I love that. That's a strong, strong statement. Jason, you had a question?
I just wonder if you had the data to do this. I had speculations that I'm thinking last year, was there a lot of people, maybe the volume last year of used cars, that big spike? I'm thinking, was it the people that maybe sold their cars that, now that everything's shut down, we're downsized, I'm working out of the house, we don't need that second or third car, so they sold it, and then things start opening back up, and they needed to go back out and replace those cars. And so did we get that big activity due to that? And maybe that might due to that tax season, which then, if that's the case, are those buyers actually, even though they're getting a return, are those buyers not here? And do you have a way to back that up? This is kind of a theory. I'm thinking, well, maybe a lot of people just replacing what they sold because they didn't think they needed it.
It's an interesting idea because we did see a surge in private party transactions last year. And I think values also encourage that because, like, hey, if I don't need that vehicle, I'm going to get top dollar for it. And dealers were working it last year, and I think continue to work it now. But it's hard to exactly quantify that effect. I believe we're carrying into this year pent-up demand that didn't get fulfilled last year because of tight supply from the new market to the used market. And you also see the tightest kind of supply in the newest vehicles. So there's the most intense competition for the younger vehicles. But so far this year, and traditionally tax refund season is usually about older vehicles, more of the value vehicles. And that's indeed where we're seeing the strongest demand right now.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, like
Feel good about that?
If it was in the thousands, how does that impact this year if they've already bought and don't need to, get back? Because now they're going back to the office and doing things. So
it's valid. Totally valid. So I hate to put you on the spot one more time, but in this morning's show, what I talked about is what I consider to be the 3 biggest disruptors. One is gas prices. 2 is the instability in the world, right? And 3 is the chip shortage and what that's doing to supply on the used car side, short, medium, and long term. You got some comments on that?
Oh, I think you nailed the kind of macro risk things quite well, and we're seeing it loud and clear in consumer sentiment data. I track a daily index, and we are within a half a point of the absolute low we had in the lockdowns in 2020. And so the consumer has really not feeling great about the future. And the piece that I would add to your list is a related item to that inflation story is what is the Fed going to do? Because our biggest risk for the U.S. economy, not in the near term, but in the 12 to 18 month time frame, is actually a policy error, which basically means the Fed goes too far too fast and shuts down consumer spending. And so that's sort of the item. Why watch gas prices? Because it's gas prices that are the real trigger to inflation right now. And inflation, the big worry is we see a recession caused by what the Fed's going to do. But the probability of recession this year is still very low. And there's plenty of time to see. Next week, the Fed meets, and we're likely to see a 1/4 point increase. We've already seen auto loan rates move by more than that. The auto loan rates have basically year to date moved pretty much in keeping with what the bond market has done. And as I said, I don't think that that's going to trump the near term situation of billions of dollars flowing into accounts.
So do you see 2 increases, 3 increases this year?
More likely 4. And
4 increases, maybe more. But what I heard you also say is you think the Fed may oversteer.
Well, that's the possibility. I'm not convinced that they will, but the folks that are most worried about recession alarm bells are precisely looking at that.
And those 4, is it a 1/2 point each, 2 points? Are we looking at 4 points by the end of it?
A 1/4 point each. Because, in fact, one silver lining of the uncertainty and the conflict in Ukraine is basically that we're seeing them pull back from the potential for more aggressive moves, and the market can handle that. We're actually, even with the increases we've seen year to date, the average auto loan rate is down about 80 basis points year over year. So we can handle almost 4 moves without them to essentially the kind of credit conditions we've had.
That's what I like. I mean, with Cox, you guys have all these different data assets right at your hands, and then you guys are doing more stuff, especially like with Viato and stuff, tapping into like bridge ideas so dealers can kind of combine all this stuff. Because initially you're able to grab this stuff, but that dealers through Cox with all these different relationships are going to be able to do themselves, right? Yeah,
super interesting. So just to recap, 3 imminent threats. You added a 4th dimension, which I know I thought about, but so between the instability, between rising gas prices, between what else? Chip shortage and future availability, and the interest rate and the Fed maybe not oversteering, but 3, 4, maybe even 5 increases between now and the end. Do absolutely support the fact that these next 2 to 3 months, Liza Borges, you should jump in here, that these next 2 or 3 months will make our year. Just to recap that. So,
season, and this is harvest season. So everything that you just talked about, the uncertainty grows as the year progresses in terms of the possibility for the Fed doing too much, for demand being impacted by consumer sentiment continuing to fall. Coming through. So you have to address the harvest.
But the hard part is as dealers are doing well, and Tommy brought it up earlier, was the bad habits form at the best of times. So if they're going to have a good month or two, they're going to get a lot of bad habits form. And then when the worst of time hits, that's usually when best practices come into play. But it's kind of a little too late. You're 30, 45 days behind the 8 ball, and they're scrambling to get off. So you're saying be more proactive now, even if the market's strong, just stay proactive. So just, hey, doesn't mean hold and hope and keep your prices high because the market's going to be there. Use this time to get good discipline, so when it slows down, it's there. You're okay. Good.
So no hold and hope strategy ever, right? I love that.
Somebody pay too much if the market changes your cars.
Yeah, the hope is not a strategy, does it? Not for long-term success anyway.
Why it's good. It's hard to commit to those things. Because you're making good money, you're making good grosses, and I say we as a dealer, I mean, we're so short-term operating, mid-month, in a month, mid-month, in a month, and not looking. And these big players out there, the Carvanas of the world, they're long-term players, and they're playing down the road. They're playing for October and November. In the summer right now, we're just worried about next season. So I like this.
Yeah, and I love the idea of it being harvest time, but I also love the idea about these next 2 or 3 months based on how tax refunds are slow to be returned and the fact that they're bigger and higher than they've ever been in the history of the country, right?
That's absolutely.
So, last question. What would you say these next so let's fast forward 3 months from now and let's go to the second half of this year. What do you think dealers should anticipate?
Well, the dynamics will be starting to shift in the used car market, and that's where that discipline in the second half of the year becomes paramount. We believe vehicles will depreciate again, and so we need to get away from the expectation that rising prices are going to fix any bad decisions made in terms of buying where you're buying the vehicle inventory and how you're pricing it in the market. But what the negatives of the computer chips shortage potentially being negatively impacted again by the conflict in Europe basically means a lot of the dynamics on the new vehicle side are likely to be a continuation of what we've experienced for the last 9 months. And that's a real positive for new vehicle margins continuing to be strong. And the name of the game in terms of managing very scarce inventory continues to be the case throughout this year and probably into next year. We're having to revise down our new vehicle sales expectations. We still expect growth, but we were expecting 7% growth. Now we're expecting only 3% growth year over year. So very constrained, but that's a positive from a pricing dynamic.
So when you talk about 3% growth year over year, you're talking new and used or just used?
Just new.
Just new. And what do you see used year over year?
Used, we think, is about flat year over year. So in terms of, I expect everybody that's watching this to sell more vehicles. Total retail should be up year over year. That's the potential. It was up. If it hadn't been for Ukraine, we probably would have had more potential because the new vehicle supply would be improving as the year goes on. But now there's less of an opportunity there. And as I've done every time on your show, don't forget fixed ops. That part of the business looks incredibly attractive. The pricing power is extremely strong, and we've got a ton of pent-up demand with consumers realizing, hey, I can't replace my vehicle. Hey, it's worth a lot more than it used to be worth, and I'm going to take care of that vehicle and get my maintenance done and take care of it.
Now you're speaking my language. I think we should call this all things fixed ops at some point.
Hey, go.
Yeah, right. Maybe we'll alternate between all things used cars and all things fixed ops.
Then you get to pick the playlist.
All right.
You don't know this, but he's a heck of a music buff.
I do. Go to Spotify, DJ Smokey Smoke, NADA 2022. There's a playlist.
DJ Smokey Smoke?
DJ Smoke.
That's great.
In honor of Dale, look for the song on there called The Upside.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I thought that was just your colleagues like razzing you, DJ Smokey Smoke. That you own that.
That's for real.
You know,
I would have
you were
never
on the
guessed that he was
the
DJ
first,
Smokey
the first
Smoke.
Automotive State of the Union he was on, and he was in like your office, and there's records, albums lining the back, and we were like, oh, there's more than the number cruncher in there.
No.
If you Google DJ Economist, you'll get me.
That's so cool.
Let's
You
go.
learn something every day. I would have never guessed that you had that dark side. That is so cool.
Oh, that's the bright side.
What song do I pick? The vibe. And, I've been seeing dealers all week long already, even though the show formally started today. Pick one song for the year. I don't know about you, but I feel good.
we need to play that song. We need to get that going.
I don't know.
Kyle,
I
if
feel
you can
good.
get
Kyle,
that
if you
going.
can dial that up, I don't know about you, but I feel good by Pitbull.
Oh, yeah, that's the song.
For the end of the show.
Holy shit. I love that.
We're going to share that. That's going in our morning email tomorrow.
So we've had a lot of great guests on the show. And by the way, this being the 45th episode and you being here, I think second or third time, second for sure, third. I can't tell you how grateful I am to Cox Automotive, to you, Jonathan. I can't tell you how valuable having you on this show has been for us. And I really, really appreciate you.
my whole purpose in life is to help people make decisions. And so you guys are what matters to us for Cox Automotive. And we want you to make the best decisions with the best data available. So I'm glad I can be a part of it.
To be able to dial into Clubhouse, a free show, and listen to Jonathan Smoke and the people that we have an opportunity to talk to, like a Smoky Smoke. I think I'm going to DJ Smoky Smoke. Well, we know what his walk-up song is for the second Friday of the next new quarter. This is going to be fantastic. I also have now my friend Glenn Lundy. What up, Mr. Lundy? So I can't get over how good and how fresh you look. You know, I think that tie would go good with Smoky Smoke. But before I turn this over to you, I just want to again say, Jonathan, thank you so much. Please don't leave. If you can stick around for a few more minutes. If you got to go, I understand. Top of the hour. Excellent. Mr. Lundy, how's Breakfast for Champions going, buddy? What's new in your world?
Breakfast for Champions got put on the back burner because we are at NADA. So I didn't even log in today because this is the most important stuff. I mean, everything's moving so fast in this industry. We got to get a hold of it. So I'm excited to be here. Breakfast Champions is great. It's getting us a lot of traction. We're getting a lot of making a big impact in a lot of people's lives. But I think this industry is really, really, really either up against the ropes or filled with opportunity. And we got to figure out which one it is over the.
Maybe it's both. So here's something really cool. If you don't know who Glenn Lundy is, let me just give you a quick thumbnail of who Glenn Lundy is. So I hear about this thing. I hear this rumbling coming out of Paris, Kentucky. And I Google it, what's the population in Paris, Kentucky? And I'm like, no, there's no way. There's no way this guy's selling that many cars. He must be a wholesale dealer. There's got to be something that I can't figure out. So I see a sales history, 80, 75, 90, broke 100. And then I see this damn store go to 1,000 cars a month. And I'm like, there's got to be something criminal going on there. There's no way in a population, 19,000, 17? Oh, my God. So population, Paris, Kentucky, check it out, 9,600 people.
95, 99.
9,600 people in Paris, Kentucky, selling 1,000 cars a month. Now, how do you sell 1,000 cars a month with a 10,000 person population? Tell us how you did that. That was an 800% increase. Is that how you got the name of that?
That's how we got it, man.
Share just a little bit of what you've done. Is that working? Let's see if it's working.
Yeah. So,
Mike working?
Mike, good. Ultimate. Just go. You'll tell me. Okay. Ultimately, it was a collaboration of a lot of great minds that we were thinking beyond what was possible. So geography no longer exists as far as I'm concerned, right? We're all in the market with each other. I can ship a car to Seattle, Washington, just like I can ship a car up to New York, just like I can ship a car down to Florida. So instead of thinking of things geographically, like we only have 9,600 people, we started looking at it like, let's expand to a 200-mile radius to begin with. And then let's start using the power of social media and marketing to be able to reach all the way across the United States of America. So great leader in Josh Cummins, the owner of the dealership, great team built around it, expanding what we believed was possible, and then ultimately just executing every single day.
Yeah, but you were the transmission of that dealership. It's not like it opened 2 years before you got there. So it went along, it trudged along. Not bad, right? Josh Cummings is a great dealer. I've had a chance to hear from him. I know he does an amazing job.
No doubt.
But how do you go and get into a population of 9,600 and turn it that quickly? There's got to be more to it.
Well, really.
How do you get? You don't have that many trades. Right? How do you
Yeah.
supply that?
Yeah, a lot of it's used cars, right? We played the used car game. So selling 2-to-1 used to new was really important to us. Making sure that and used cars, the game is basically the same today as it was back then, right? Black, white, silver cars between 15 and 35 grand. Find them, stock them. Let's go. We're gonna sell them. So we played the used car game really, really well, which brought our new car up. Instead of playing the new car, get trade in the used side. We played the used car game and sold more new cars along the way. But really, it was our people, man. We took these old belief systems, that a population of 9,600 people matters. We threw that out. Then we took the system of a salesman can only sell 12 cars a month, threw that out. That's ridiculous.
What were you average per sale?
One car every day that they were at work per salesperson, just over 20.
Average sale
Just over 20. Yeah,
A little over 20.
that's right. Per salesperson.
So the time shifted completely. You threw out the window that population mattered.
Threw it out.
You threw out the window. Salespeople should only average 10 to 12 cars.
That's right.
Threw it out.
Threw
What
it
else
out.
did you throw out?
We threw out this idea that a finance manager can only contract 70 deals. This guy right here, Evan. This guy right here was the top finance guy. over there for
Evan,
the last 5 years.
how many car deals were you doing a month?
150 to 200 deals a month. Month in, month out.
8 to 200
That's right.
car deals a month.
Running 2,500 to $3,000 a copy with 60% warranty penetrations, a clean CIT under 10 days for 5 years.
So, quick question,
We
Evan.
did over 8,000 deals in 5 years.
I've got 2 questions now.
Look,
The
Evan's
first
in now. I'm
question-
out.
Yeah, Glenn, can you get off this chair? My first question is: have you ever considered living in San Francisco? No, okay.
Hey,
All right,
really?
since that question did,
Living difference between
There is indeed.
That's a good topic for our shows because you get a strong
Yeah.
an eye, you can make it up the volume and everything else.
wow.
Yeah.
Would you be open to being our special guest on All Things Used Cars one Friday morning?
Of course.
Oh man, we got to exchange information.
Yeah,
Glenn has
for
all
sure.
my information.
Yeah, I'll hook you guys
Would
up.
love to have
He's
you.
working with us now with 800%
Oh
Club.
man, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
So-
man.
Congratulations on your success. Would love to have you move to San Francisco, but go ahead. How's the march going for you guys out there?
So he stepped out of the finance office at Dan Cummins 3 months ago and joined us over here on the 800% Club side. So what I'm hearing from our
So wait,
dealers,
wait. Let me do the math here real quick. Let's just say 100 cars times $3,000 a car times 18 to 20%. How the hell much are you paying that guy to leave that damn job?
you know, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Right? But here's what everyone needs to know and understand in this industry.
Okay.
Okay. Evan is not making anywhere near the money he was making when he was at finance at Dan Cummins. Evan just got married. Evan has a child. He's got another one on the way. Evan wanted to be able to spend some time with his family. He wanted to feel like he was on a track where there was something else, right? He didn't want to spend the rest of his day in the finance office. So values of our young people have changed. He's 27 years old. The values have changed. So we have to make sure in our dealerships we're creating cultures and environments that tap into what was valuable to us, but what is now valuable to them.
I could not agree more. So
it's not about the money. I don't pay him anywhere near what he's
man,
making
let me
there.
just say this. I really hope we can be really hope we can be friends after I say this.
Oh, of course.
Okay. You say that now, but wait till I say it. So I've got a 4-day-a-week work schedule for you.
Yeah. Good luck.
And I'll pay you 21%, and I'll make sure that you never miss one of your kids' events.
That's right.
Are we still friends?
We're still friends, and that's part of it, right? Part of it.
I got to do it in front of them.
Making sure that they feel there's potential for more.
Yeah.
That's really what he wanted, and that's what he wasn't getting. With us, we're a startup, basically. We're only 2 years in
I love
business.
it.
He feels like we can, sky's the limit. So,
if I was young and I was not closer to the end than I am the beginning, I'd come to work with you.
oh, well, thanks.
That's
Very
how much
kind of you, man.
I respect you and appreciate your values. And I mean, anybody that can be a dad of 8 kids, 8, right?
8 babies.
Anybody that can have 8 babies and run a successful business.
This is true. Shout out to Leslie
don't know.
Lundy. Leslie Lundy, congratulations.
And the way I see her just calmly manage that household,
Oh, it's amazing.
it's amazing. It speaks volumes. Like
It's how I
what
know God
you
is
do
real.
is nothing compared.
It's literally how I know God is
Yeah.
real. My wife is what she's able to do with those 8 kids while I'm out here gallivanting around in Las Vegas with guys like you. God
great.
has to be real.
So for you automotive professionals that are on this show that are watching, how many no's do you have to get before you get a yes?
How many no's do you have to get before you
because
get a
I'm
yes?
wondering how many no's I got from you, Evan, before I can finally start to.
It's a good question. It's a good question.
I'll tell you what, I know how many. As many as it takes.
As many as it takes.
Right? That's the answer. So I'll be following you around.
I got another answer for you. I think the other answer is do more work ahead of time to where they have confidence and belief in you before you even ask them for a deal.
Yeah, amen.
And then you don't get any no's.
Yeah. You just keep moving. It's just seamless, right? You
That's
don't even
right.
have to ask for a yes.
That's exactly
It just
right.
have a good day.
That's exactly right. Exactly
That's
right.
the deal.
Hey, I got to pop to another.
Yeah, we're getting ready to end the show.
Yes.
You got 4 minutes. Sit tight. So
I got to walk wherever the next booth is.
So
But I
anyway,
love
this
you.
is the.
Thanks for having me.
It's really good to see you.
You too.
Nice to meet you. I'll see you next Friday. Thank you. So this is All Things Used Cars. This is our 45th episode. To my left is Jonathan Smoke. He does a great job providing us with insights. He's the chief economist for Cox Automotive. Jonathan, thank you again.
We see each other in person. This is awesome.
Yeah, you know what? That's one last question I have. There's got to be a little bit of a bump in the enthusiasm of mask mandates and vaccine mandates going away. Doesn't it have to impact consumer sentiment?
Absolutely. I think we have tremendous upside to what the consumer can do if we see the conflict actually get resolved or not getting worse. We start to see the stock market calming down because we're back to July on the COVID cases, and so the mask mandates falling. We're back to sort of most of the enthusiasm we had last year. And by the way, the unemployment rate is 3.8% and expected to be 3.5% by the end of the year. Conditions are actually good, and there's $4 trillion in savings that have accumulated in bank accounts. So there really is upside if consumers start to see a better tomorrow around the corner, and I think it can be there pretty quickly.
So what I hear you saying is with everything going on, gas prices, with the instability in the world, with all things that are sort of wins, there's a ton of silver linings. But the most specific thing I heard you say is these next 2 or 3 months can make our whole year.
Well, and in the near term, who cares where consumer sentiment is? Tax refunds are flowing, and they're up 15% year over year.
So there are some things I hear you saying that override consumer sentiment and make for what 2022 can be. Like I don't know about you, but most of my dealerships had double the best year they ever had in 2021. And guess what 2022 can be?
Better than that.
Better than that. I mean, I think that's a great way to end the show. I want to say thank you to Tommy Gibbs. I want to thank my good friend Jason Rice. Of course, Dale, if you get a chance to listen to this show would not be the same if you wouldn't have joined us today. So thank you to Dale Pollak, Glenn Lundy. Thank you. The 800% Club, check him out. And of course, Jonathan Smoke, thank you very much. This show today was brought to you by All Things Used Cars, but sponsored by Automotive State of the Union. And I want to turn it over to my good friend to take us home. Paul J. Daly, I really appreciate you and everything you do.
The first thing that happens is we walk in the floor, so it's going to be really hard for the next 2 days to feel like on the top of this thing, you feel this whole thing. Dave, thank you so much for leading the industry in this conversation. I think we want to take the graphs and email list, sign up at asodu.com. Every day, Monday through Friday, there's Saturday, Sunday, all the social. So it's technical difficulties. There's a lot going on in here. Follow the hashtag ASOTU on all the social channels. We're going to keep updating the content, not just with the live stream, with a lot of interviews for the next. Let's go make some trouble. That's why we're here. Back to Kyle in Nashville.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul, and the crew out there. For those that were watching or listening, whether you're on Clubhouse or anywhere else, we apologize for any of the technical difficulties. That is a big, big building with really stinky Wi-Fi, and we were running Bluetooth and passing mics, but a lot of incredible insights in that time. If you're on Clubhouse, we are gonna stay on for about 10 to 15 minutes and just have a conversation around some of the topics that happen. If you're watching on the live streams, make sure and pay attention. In just a couple hours, we'll be live again with the team at Effective, as well as just a recap of what's going on the showroom floor. Follow us on social media at ASOTU. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, all across the ways. Go to asotu.com, sign up for our email list, and follow the articles as the press releases come today. Thank you for watching. We will see you soon. This day is encouraging. The energy around automotive is incredible, and we can't wait to see what happens next. NADA show live with ASOTU happening right now.